That's nightly news for now. I'm Tom Brokaw. We'll have continuing coverage of these developments throughout the evening on this NBC station.
The sights and sounds of last night's LA riots sent shockwaves around the world. British networks spent hours covering the violence, and newsman William Neely says the English interest is understandable.
I think Europe, like America, is stunned at the verdict. I think in the editorials in tomorrow's newspapers, you are going to see that kind of thing reflected.
Though far from local news, the Los Angeles melee also dominated Parisian airwaves. From the snippets of news that aired, it seemed all of Los Angeles was ablaze, according to Alain de Chelvron of France's Channel 2.
I have been told by a correspondent in Los Angeles that quarters like Venice or even Beverly Hills were touched by the violence.
As far away as Japan, the outcome of the Rodney King case was top news of the day. Back home, last night's violence was all anyone was talking about on all the networks. CNN spent most of its morning news rehashing the destruction, and all three major morning shows devoted most of their airtime to showing America, a city under siege.
Soon after, viewers saw live pictures of motorists being pulled from their vehicles and beaten senseless.
Those pictures of those men being beaten and pulled out of their cars and being beaten were so upsetting it almost made you sick.
But for the local reporters who spent last night in the middle of the madness, keeping things in perspective was a priority. Los Angeles stations were quick to contrast the violence with simultaneous peaceful demonstrations just blocks away.
We may continue to watch the fire and listen to Rita Walters.
Attitudes that gave rise to that are still there.
Aerial helicopter shots gave viewers a clear look at the scope of the fires and looting. But local NBC reporter Diane Diaz says staying objective wasn't always easy.
Perhaps it is easy to exaggerate, but what's exaggeration when you have this kind of devastation all around you? You see another one burning right across the street, a looted building over there, another fire in the distance.
By morning light, tourists didn't seem scared off by the pictures saturating the airwaves.
Now let's find out what's happening at this hour in Los Angeles. Sam?
Diane, there are many, many fires burning in central Los Angeles tonight, and there are new ones being set constantly. The fire department simply can't cope. There's a lot of looting going on, and now it's spread even to the heart of Hollywood, according to reports. And although the police and National Guard are on the streets, most of the looters appear to be getting away with it. But not all. Watch this. Extraordinary pictures from earlier this evening when some Korean merchants came out of their shops and began to fire at looters. We don't know whether anyone was hit, but they took matters into their own hands. We have reports of looting having spread up the coast to San Francisco in Market Square. And here in Los Angeles, it's really spreading too. More on this, of course, on Nightline later this evening. Diane?
So that's it for us tonight. 2020 will be here tomorrow night. Glad you joined us. I'm Diane Sawyer in New York. Good night, Sam.
Good night, Diane. I'm Sam Donaldson in Los Angeles. Join us again next Thursday evening for another edition of Primetime Live.
Primetime is a presentation of ABC News.
The fires of anger lit in Los Angeles, with the heat felt in Washington.
Lootings, beatings, and random violence against innocent victims must be condemned.
Today, signs of spreading unrest. Tonight, in the nation's second largest city, a curfew in a wounded community, and a larger examination of what is tearing it apart.
This is ABC News Nightline. Reporting from Washington, Ed Koppel.
Of national attention, though, remains Los Angeles. Here's a late report from Judy Muller.
The violence was on the rise. Firefighters, often the targets of violence themselves, could not keep up with the arson fires. National Guard troops were deployed in the troubled areas to reinforce the police. But even all that law enforcement didn't stop the looting, or the vigilante attempts to stop the looting. These Korean shop owners defended their property with bullets. More than 100 Korean businesses have been looted or burned since last night.
We have a lot of shotguns in here and some handguns, but we have to use them because, I mean, we have to defend our lives, we have to defend our property. You know, people out there watching, you know, please just don't sit there and enjoy this great exhibition.
It's not entertainment, you know, it's not a Hollywood action shot.
In anticipation of more trouble, high-rise office buildings downtown were evacuated. as commuters packed the roads in an effort to get home early. Grocery stores were also packed as residents sought to stockpile goods. All schools are closed and have canceled weekend activities. Shopping over the city closed down out of fear that the violence and looting would spread. Most of the trouble is taking place within a 105 square mile area of south central LA. But there are reports now of looting in Beverly Hills, Hollywood, and several locations in the San Fernando Valley. In South Central, the looting has become brazen. There seems little connection to outrage over the King verdict. Most of the looters, like these seen breaking into a Sears store, seem to be making the most of a chaotic situation to grab some goods. In fact, one looter arrived at this location in a yellow cab. At a nearby grocery store, a local reporter confronted some of the thieves.
Why did you do this?
I don't know, because it's free.
Because it's free?
Yeah.
Don't you know it's wrong?
Nah.
You don't care?
I don't care.
United States, how come they let that happen to the place? Why didn't they guard? Y'all running out of there with the food. I got to do some shopping. I don't have any food in the house.
At dusk, all bus and rail service was canceled. Air traffic into Los Angeles International Airport has been backed up and a number of planes have been diverted. And the smaller Santa Monica Airport has been closed because of smoke from a major fire in West Los Angeles. Mayor Tom Bradley says it is imperative that the violence be contained. In a day of sad news, a particularly sad item this evening. The truck driver who was pulled from his truck yesterday and beaten has died from his injuries. Coming under fire from looters. Arson fires continue to burn throughout the city. Since this all began, more than 36 fires have been set. One bit of encouraging news, since the curfew began at dusk, the streets seem to have emptied. Ted?
CBS News correspondent Bob Fa is in Los Angeles with the very latest. Good morning, Bob.
Good morning, Monica. The curfew has been in effect now for about 4.5 hours. It has slowed the rate of violence and arson, but the grim numbers continue to climb. 24 now reported dead, nearly 800 injured, about 400 arrests, and millions of people confined to their homes could only watch as a major city was torched. Throughout the night, Los Angeles burned. Well over 1,200 fires reported, stores, banks, restaurants. Breaking out so often, firemen were so busy fighting one fire, they literally could not get to others. Like this shopping center, which burned to the ground.
Everybody ready? Let's ball out and do it. First squad, let's go.
4,000 National Guardsmen fully armed were deployed, but 12 hours later than scheduled because they couldn't get ammunition. As they waited, crime flourished. Looting was reported throughout the area as swarms of people literally flooded into stores, walking out as ransacked. Occasionally on Hollywood Boulevard, where the stars are, arrests were made, black, white, male, female. But this night, the police presence often seemed too little, too late. As order broke down, citizens tried to do what they could, help firefighters man pumps, or tried to protect their own possessions. As one local politician put it, the system has broken down and people are helping to mend it. Most, though, could only watch in horror. The city wants another 2,000 National Guardsmen brought in by noon on Friday. The president has been told that federal troops may be needed.